Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Swallowed Star. In the previous episode, we were shown Luo Feng, who had hatched his second clone, which was made from the skin material of the demon killer. Clone. At the second stage of the level universe, the day came for the start of the second stage of the Genius Battle event. Out of a total of 1.8 million participants, only 7,300 could be nominated, while the rest would be eliminated. They must accumulate as many points as possible while in the Tower of Trials. 7 test towers, and in each tower there are 7 floors, and each of the towers will be filled with different types of creatures. Okay, instead of getting curious, let's get to the story. The first test tower was filled with tens of thousands of blood mammoths. And now we are shown both Bolin, who has reached the 7th level of this first tower. Although the opponents faced have large numbers and strong physiques, Bolin, the incomparable genius, can easily tear apart the group of monsters like cutting vegetables. Bolin finally became the first person to enter the second tower. And in this second tower, the opponents that the participants had to face were 100,000 naded snakes, and again Bolin again showed his prowess without encountering any obstacles. He could deal with the snakes that came up to the water so easily. In short, on the second tower, Bolin made it to the 7th level, finished it, and advanced to the 3rd tower with the top score. The spectators, who were watching the action, felt that this Bolin was really crazy, even though it was only the 2nd tower, but was already in 1st place, and before that he was the only person to reach the 7th level on Blood Mammoth's 1st tower. It seems that no participant can shift Bolin, whose position is already at the top, because the points he gets with the participants who are in 2nd position are now very far a drift. Well, it makes sense anyway, because other participants are still in the middle of the 2nd tower battle. It was possible that they would be able to catch up with Bolin a little later, after being in the 3rd tower. Meanwhile, Luo Feng is now in 118th position. Well, it's still not too bad if the competition is up to billions of participants and the trials were still continuing. It is explained that the Genius Battle this time is still the same as last time. There are creatures from foreign races that the participants must face. Until now, the battle between the human race and the foreign race is still unstoppable. That is why this Genius Battle was basically formed not only for the sake of selecting strong geniuses, but also made to select warriors who are worthy of the race battles that will occur in the future. The selected geniuses must have the ability to fight against various types of enemies in the universe. We will finally be shown with Luo Feng, who in short has now arrived at the 5th tower of trial, and the opponents to face this time are 100 mechanical race dolls that have giant bodies. Long, who was surrounded by enemies at the beginning of the battle, protected himself by using the defense mode of his heaven forbid shuttle, because defense is not the solution to winning. Luo Feng then tested the opponent's strength by releasing a fist to one of the robots. Of course, when measuring from physical strength, Long was slightly superior, but the problem was that the number of opponents was too many and they played as a team. No kidding about the difficulty, because every tower Luo Feng went through he had to constantly use all the skills he had. On the other hand, Luo Feng, who was in the 5th tower of trial fighting the mechanical race, was also as difficult as Luo Feng, in contrast to Bolin, who still easily defeated the enemy. Likewise, with Rong Jun, who doesn't look too difficult. Then can Luang, who always has difficulties in each tower, get a nomination in this stage. In short, finally Luang had now arrived at the 7th tower of trial. The place that he entered this time gave him an extremely unpleasant feeling. It was different from the previous places, and now right in front of Luo Feng was a sphere-like object known as the mother of the bug race, or insect race. After looking at it, Luang remembered that on Earth there was also a similar object, which was the ruins of ancient civilization number 31 that had not been completed by Earth people. If it was really the lure of the bug race mothership, then why would it be on Earth? Luo Feng thought. Not long after, from various directions insects began to appear that carried killing intent. When they all saw Luo Feng, some of them that appeared shouted to summon a larger number of insect swarms, just to finish Luo Feng off. Not staying silent, Luang immediately fought back, beating the insects one by one using his Yangshan stick to make the clean up less time consuming. Luo Feng also formed several illusory bodies and resumed his battle. Given that this was an insect mother nest, there were naturally many insect eggs that had not yet and would soon hatch. It showed that even though Luo Feng could beat up many of these insects, he would later be reunited with a larger number of insects in addition to having Rapid fertilization. These creatures can also increase their strength by devouring the corpses of dead insects, so Long's battle will be even more difficult despite their low level of intelligence. The creatures are highly organized, acting under the direction of the mother in the nest. Even if they sacrificed part of their troops, the creatures would not give up before successfully obtaining their prey. This was realized by Luo Feng, who was behind the protection of rattan-rubbed clouds stalk, and he made a flying weapon attack against the insects from behind the protection they had made from behind the nest. A figure finally appeared who gave orders to the insects, and she was the bug queen. After seeing this figure, Luo Feng could immediately tell that the queen was the root of all the problems he was currently facing. At that moment, the queen issued a low signal wave, instantly making Luo Feng enter into a world of illusion. Luo Feng, who was affected by the illusion, entered the moment when he was at the wedding with Su Qin. The illusion ability used by the opponent almost made Luang complacent until he finally regained his senses, just as the insects were about to devour him. Luo Feng simply flung the insects away and crushed them all with his Yan'an staff. The opponent's piercing gaze that seemed to contain the power of the universe almost made Luo Feng lose control. Not only did he have a troublesome ability, she also had the protection of countless insects. Currently Luang was really lacking information about the opponent. In order to get information, he intended to ask Barbata. It was just that this virtual place had qualified protection, so Luo Feng couldn't send signals to the outside world. But there was still another way to contact Barbata, and that was using Luo Feng's demon killer clone body. Luo Feng's clone body, without lingering, immediately asked Barbata about the ruins of ancient civilization number 31 on Earth. Barbata explained that it was the nest of the bug race that Master Hu Yanbu obtained from fighting against the race outside the territory of the human race. However, Hu Yanbu did not expect that there were immortal level warriors chasing him just to seize the lair, and in the end, in order to protect the bug race's mother nest, Huano was forced to hide it on Earth. Luo Feng asked again if it was true that the mother nest was so valuable to immortal level warriors. Why didn't Nolan target it when they invaded Earth? From Barbata's memories seen by Barbata, there was the deepest data that was deliberately hidden. It contained Nolan, who had also noticed the mother nest, but because it was too risky, Nolan immediately told all his members not to touch the ruins of civilization number 31. If Nolan just let go of the precious nest, then what is the approximate level of the bug race's mother nest on Earth? And Barbata answered World Master level. And it is likely that the bug race that Luo Feng is currently facing has had its power suppressed by management at the virtual universe level unexpectedly. Despite being suppressed and weakened, the mother nest can still produce countless insect troops. This number can certainly drown enemies that have been targeted. What would happen if bug mother nest was at the original level? It must be unimaginable. Luo Feng again asked if there was a way to get rid of these insects. It is a bit difficult, Barbata said, because Huyen alone can't completely eradicate these creatures. Barbata also asked Luo Feng not to be too rash in taking action, because the bug mother nest on Earth is now sleeping. Of course, for the Earth, it was a time bomb that could explode at any time, and now that Luang was in the Tower of Trial, Barbata told him to find a method to be able to deal with the insect mother nest. It was possible that the method he used could later be applied to deal with the ruins of civilization number 31 on Earth. In the current state of the genius battle, Bolan had already made it to the 7th level of the 7th tower, and it was only a matter of time until he came out. Rong Jun and the others were also not inferior to Bolan, but it was very strange that Luo Feng, who had quite promising potential, was instead stuck at position 98, and was still at level 1 of the 7th tower. After Venerable Nine Swords felt something was wrong, Rong Changhua checked, and this is where he found that there was a data abnormality in the 100 insects that Luo Feng was fighting, and after Changhua checked the system history logs, it was found that there was a hack that came from outside. Back to Luo Feng, who in the battle tried to attack the queen. However, the queen was protected by insect warriors who were willing to die for her and the mother nest, making it very difficult to be attacked. Therefore, Luo Feng will try to find a more appropriate method to deal damage to the queen, and he would rely on Yen and Bin's weapon. In that regard, Luo Feng would first pretend to focus on fighting countless weak insects. Here usually the insect warriors would sacrifice themselves, going to the forefront so that Luang couldn't get close to their queen. And at the time when Long was fighting with the Opposing warriors, he would use a soul seal attack on the queen from a distance. Because at that moment the insect queen must have thought that she was in a safe position, and that was what caught her off guard, and is the method used by Luo Feng effective. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.